thrilled to welcome the LTC's Instructional Technology Coaching Team. They offer tailored regional support to diverse districts throughout the state. By providing on-site guidance that respects local school culture, our coaches translate complex technology trends into practical daily instruction. They focus on maximizing technology investments to improve student outcomes, ensuring that every district has access to world-class resources and sustainable strategies close to home. Please welcome your coaches. And I'm Linda, your webinar facilitator. I'll be behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly, as well as interacting with you in the chat. So let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, AI for Everyone, empowering AI through instructional technology coaching. I am Elizabeth Radens, and I will go ahead and just get started by introducing the LTC Instructional Tech team. As I said before, I'm Elizabeth Radens. I am the lead instructional tech coach with the LTC. I am located in Northern Illinois, about as far north as you can go, and I coach at Hononegah, Rockton, Kinnickinnick, and Dakota school districts throughout the year. And I'll go ahead and pass it off to Brian.
Yes, I'm right across town from Elizabeth. I'm located in Rockford, but out in Freeport. If you know Freeport, they are the pretzels, go pretzels. And so happy to be up here in Northern Illinois and holding it down, especially in this beautiful weather we're having. So I'll pass it on to Mark.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Okigawa. I'm in the South Cook County area. I coach in Sauk Village School District, right on the border of Illinois and Indiana. I'm excited to share with everybody today. I'll introduce Stacy.
Everybody, I'm Stacy White. I am at the opposite end of the state. I am an instructional tech coach in Southern Illinois. I serve Carterville, Heron, Crab Orchard, and Johnson City. And I'm going to hand it off to Kristen.
Hey everybody, I'm Kristen Can. I am also based out of the Southern Cook County region, and I coach in South Holland, School District 150, and Speed 802 in Chicago Heights. And I will pass it over to Amy.
Hi everybody, I'm Amy Graham, and I am a tech coach in North Central Illinois, specifically ROE 35, which is LaSalle, Putnam, and Bureau counties. I reside in Ottawa, Illinois, and I support Serena Unit 2, Lawston, and Tonka school districts, as well as a few days at Central Primary School in Washington, Illinois. And I'm happy to be here with you all today. And back to Elizabeth.
All right, thanks. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I think I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Mark so he can tell us all what AI is and is not.
Yeah, so as we get ready to introduce AI for everybody today, it's important that we all understand what AI really is. In technical terms, it's like an idea vending machine that uses complex algorithms to analyze massive amounts of data, identifying statistical probabilities to predict what you want. Really fancy way of saying it's a good guesser based on what you type, right? In classroom context, it's not like a calculator that's going to give you the exact right answer when you ask AI of something. Instead, it's more like a teaching assistant that can brainstorm with you, giving lesson hooks, differentiate reading levels, or help organize things for you. This makes it really great as a thought partner for brainstorming, idea options, quick summaries, and quick research. Those are all things that AI does really well. But it's also really important to understand what AI isn't. It's not sentient. It doesn't have feelings or personal experiences that influence the decisions it makes as it creates things for you. It doesn't have a moral compass that helps it know if it's giving you something that's good, bad, right, or wrong. It doesn't actually know anything the way that we do. It simply predicts what information should come next based on its training. So it might give you something that seems that's really great, but it's got no way of knowing if it actually is. Likewise, it might give you something that's really terrible, but it's going to push it to you as if it's really great, because AI is also taught to be confident in the responses that it gives. Because it based on probability, it can occasionally hallucinate or give false information. And again, totally confident that what it is giving you is absolutely accurate and absolutely correct. And that's really important to remember when you're working with AI, that we have to keep the human in the loop, watch for those hallucinations, the biases that it may have when we're working with it. It lacks personal intuition and the deep empathetic understanding of students that we as teachers have developed, that we know from our students by being with them day to day, and bring our personal experiences into the classroom. The most important element of using AI tools in education is, like I said, keeping the human in the loop. It should be viewed as a co-pilot, something you work with, not an autopilot that you put all of your faith in and let it start doing things for you without any sort of checks or balances or anything to make sure that it's actually doing its job correctly. Everything that an AI generates for you requires your expertise as a teacher, as an administrator, as an educator in general, to ensure it's accurate, that it's age appropriate, and that it's aligned with your standards and your objectives. Your expertise is the filter that turns the many things that AI can give to us into meaningful learning experiences for your students. By keeping the human in the loop, you ensure technology enhances your teaching rather than just replacing the essential human connection that we've worked so hard to develop as educators.
I think the biggest thing that you mentioned here is like how confident AI is when when it gives you something, whether it's right or wrong, it is the most confident response that you could possibly get. So that's where a lot of my teachers sometimes find it hard to weed through some of those hallucinations or just like fake information.
Yeah, it's the same confidence that my kids tell me when they quote a YouTube short video for something. It's just like, this is absolutely true, and it's just not always the case. So yeah, that human in the loop element to be like, you say that very confidently, but is this really true? You know, check some sources and make sure that you have some background in what you're asking AI to produce for you, so you can check it for accuracy.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. All right. All right. And next we have why AI matters.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Elizabeth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why AI matters. Oftentimes when I think about the why to anything, I think about it in terms of a problem that needs to be solved and why that solution makes sense. And the use of AI is no different for me. When I think about the use of AI as an educator, I think about it in the following categories: enhancing creativity, supporting communication, encouraging critical thinking, and then saving time. And I use AI as a partner to help me dissect problems that fall under each of those umbrellas. And I encourage, when we talk about student use of AI, I feel like those umbrellas hold true to them as well. So thinking about a problem, what's one of the biggest problems I face as a coach, that I face as a classroom teacher, that I support administrators with, support staff and students? It's really the burnout. We live in a very busy world, and it's easy to become exhausted with the stresses of work and school life and students, their home lives. Everybody has things going on. So sometimes, we just need, as Mark said, a co-pilot just to sit next to us and help spark that creativity when our creative juices have run dry, or just to help with that communication piece when maybe we feel like that's not up to par. We just want something to be checked, like an email tone, to make sure that we have that balance of being empathetic, but also, getting our point across, things like that. And let's not even talk about the to-do lists, right? I feel like, I have a to-do list that I start the day with, and when I cross 3 off, 5 more pop up. So just the everyday decision making for us as educators, but also our students. What's one thing that we tell our students a lot? It's, hey, look at the big picture. Let's break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. Sometimes we need to practice what we preach. And I feel like AI has helped be a supporter in that. which is always a nice thing to have. So yeah, when we think about why AI, think about it as a co-pilot. As Mark mentioned, it's not an autopilot. It's never going to replace what the world of education is, because it is so human-centered, and that will always be its core. But who doesn't want a little personal assistant or a buddy along for the ride when the going gets tough? So that, to me, that's why AI matters to everyone, educators, administrators, students. Yeah, we all need that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Elizabeth and Mark again to carry us on.
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, I definitely echo all the things you just said, for sure.
Yeah, so meat and potatoes for today. We talked a little bit about what it is, what it isn't, why it matters, but everybody's really here because we want to know how we can all use AI to enhance our teaching, right? So the ultimate goal of being here at the webinar today is to understand that AI is not one more thing for educators to have to do. It's not like another data point, another test to fit in, another small group we have to, it's not more. It's supposed to help us make the most out of all of the many things we already do. Streamline our workflow, become more efficient, take some of those tedious but not deep thinking tasks off of our plate so that we can be better at the many other things that are constantly drawing our attention. As we go through today, we'll focus kind of in three main areas: AI for teachers, AI for students, and AI for administrators. For teachers, AI is a time multiplier. It helps you work more efficiently, more effectively, more creatively. It's more like an always available teaching assistant than something else on our plate. It allows you to really kind of reclaim that plan period by taking some of those small tasks, handling them for you, or just making them take far less time so you can focus on those important things. For students, AI can be a little bit trickier to get into, but it really does great as a personalized tutor by meeting every student where they are, making curriculum and learning accessible, and helping students with their own creativity as they continue to work. And for administrators, AI becomes like a data-informed leadership partner, cutting out a lot of that manual labor. Analyze assessment trends as you're looking at all of that data that your teachers are collecting. Write drafts for newsletters, give you like that baseline to get started with, make your small tweaks so it fits your style and your needs, and streamline a lot of those logistics of running a school that can take so much attention away from being able to interact with the kids, get in the halls, connect with your teachers, things like that. So it has a place, for parents too. I use it to help my own kids as a personalized tutor. It has a place for everybody in the education world, for sure.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started with AI for teachers with Kristen and Stacy.
Thanks.
All right. You want to go first?
You go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. So Stacy and I kind of talked about, well, what are the ways that we see the teachers that we collaborate with and support using AI the most. And for me, I can speak for my coaching districts. That's with using it as a brainstorming partner. Would you agree, Stacy?
Absolutely. I feel like the way teachers have used this has changed so much in just the last 6 months. From quick chats just to get ideas to now we're really digging into that differentiation piece and that actual interactive lesson piece. So it's moving fast and furious, but just getting started with that brainstorming partner, I think, is the best foot in the door.
Absolutely. I have an example to share just because it's most recent. I just worked with a 8th grade social studies teacher, and she really wanted to explore a student podcasting project. And so she's had this idea for a long time. And she's like, I just can't get past the initial, I want to do it, but thinking of all of the moving pieces that go with it is just she found herself in this vicious cycle of just overthinking everything, from the topic choice to the structure and, student resources and how to build that background knowledge if they're not familiar with podcasting and all of the things. So she invited me in to collaborate with her. And when we sat down for our initial planning meeting, I said, have you ever thought about using AI to help work through some of these great ideas that you already have? And she's like, no. So I said, okay, well, you're just going to talk and I'm going to listen and I'm going to type. And then we're going to take those thoughts and we'll kind of clean up the language and form a prompt and see what we get. And it was just really neat to see, the back and forth. It really was a brainstorming partner. It didn't, ta-da, here's everything and take it. We prompted along the way to get what we wanted out of it. And by the end, she's like, really, these are all my ideas. Like, this is everything that was up here. And now it's laid out. I'm like, yes. So it was just really neat to see that come to fruition for her.
I think one of the big eye-opening experiences I see with my teachers is oh, I can't do that, or AI can't do that. And then with a simple prompt, they quickly realize you really can do almost anything. I mean, the possibilities are very endless. And just how much time it gives you back to do the things that we all became teachers for, which was to work with kids, not to do paperwork, not to have detailed lesson plans, all these things. It lets us get back to the creativity and the art form of teaching.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great segue into this next one, supporting communication. We as educators, we all know how important it is to have that strong bond and connection from home life to school life. And it's a big part of what we do. But it's time consuming. And so I've had a lot of teachers using things like creating gems to help them with weekly newsletters so that, the structure is there because that's staying the same each week. And now they just plug in that new content and it gets them back to their student desks and where they want to be working with the students, and giving them new ideas for forms of communication. So I had a teacher that she's like, oh my gosh, this weekly newsletter, she called it Weekly Newsletter Builder, I think, for her gem. And she said it saved her so much time that, she ended up coming up with a fridge-worthy work email. So each week she's picking a student to just send it's like a positive note home, but it's a positive email sent to their parents about just one bright spot or success from the week. And she's like, those are the things that matter most to me and I love to do, but they sometimes fall to the wayside with all the responsibilities and everything we have to do as educators. So.
And that brings us into differentiation, which, I mean, it takes so much time in all of our lives. And I've been working probably primarily with teachers on using AI for differentiation, and not in the most traditional ways, which has been interesting. Just some of the cool ideas that they've come up with. I'm working with a first grade teacher right now who has, for the first time, some really high math kids. And they do their morning meeting and go through the basic math stuff that elementary teachers do. And they are bored out of their mind. So we worked with a gem and Gemini Canvas to create a Google site that now these kids go to and do advanced math during their morning meeting while she works with the other students. So you can differentiate that each way. I mean, at the most basic level, you put one reading in and you can get it in 10 different reading levels. Just put your Lexile levels in, build a gem for it. It saves so much time and truly allows us to easily personalize student learning.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, let's hand it over to Mark and Elizabeth, shall we?
Howdy there, Mark. Let's talk about some AI for students. We got 3 different ideas that are going to come with AI for students. So first one, confidence. Mark, have you used AI with students in the classroom?
Very limited. Like I mentioned earlier, it's tough to get it in front of students being mindful of privacy and
Mhm.
policies and things like that. But in a few ways, I have started to, and the idea of confidence building, using AI is kind of setting it up in that deep learning mode that you can put a lot of the AI tools into to have it work with your students when they have questions about their learning. A lot of my students are wary to come up to me and ask me a question when I'm working with a small group, or they don't want to raise their hand in front of all other classmates in fear of feeling stupid or looking stupid or something like that, which we as teachers encourage them to do and know is not true, but it's hard for them to overcome that. By setting that AI up in the deep learning mode or the guided learning mode where they can kind of ask our own question and it walks them through some of the processes, especially if I've taken the time to set it up for them with the resources we use to learn so it's even relevant to the style that I'm teaching in. Um, it helps them start to ask questions in ways and not feel afraid of what their peers are going to think, build a little more confidence in their learning and encouraging them to start to explore a little more on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an important part that you brought up about privacy, being one part that's going to be different from place to place because we are all in different parts of the states, and that deeper thinking is going to allow for it to be a little bit easier with those guardrails, because those are super necessary for those developmental minds. And so yeah, definitely thinking about where you're working a bit more with that critical thought. Um, Deeper thinking is definitely necessary with AI, where a lot of people think it's like, oh yeah, no, it's definitely gone away because it gives you, one of those sycophantic answers automatically. So no, it definitely can allow students to be able to question a bit more and say like, is this actually true? Because you can get those answers very quickly. It's like, all right, is this going to be the correct answer, or is this something that is going to allow me to think a little bit more?
Well, yeah, ultimately, and being a brainstorming partner for those students too, right? Where they start to put some ideas in, AI helps them add more details, flesh them out a little bit more, create more from what they've already got, but maybe help them see something else that they weren't seeing before in that deeper thinking way.
Yeah, and then the ability to personalize makes it really simple. One of the ways that I know that I've worked with a couple teachers are using a couple different tools that are going to be able to give student feedback quickly and easily. Especially it's going to be one they can read directly. I know that with it being testing season, IAR has been a big one. There are a lot of folks like, oh, we want to make sure we work on a little test prep, but we can't always get this like quicker responses for every particular thing in there. And so yeah, that personalized support is definitely helpful for getting that feedback for students quickly, and well as something that they can read on their own as well.
Yeah, like Stacy and Kristen mentioned, that differentiation level doesn't just have to come from the teacher. Through the AI tools, the students can start to translate, maybe adjust the reading level of their text if they're having difficulty, or just ask it as they're reading, can I have a definition of this word? It's not one of our vocabs, so we're not talking about it, but I don't get it, right? And so they can start to use that and kind of fill in the gaps where they have them personally, as they're finding, and maybe we aren't quite catching as we're working with our whole groups, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it frees up a lot of time, but also that humanism that Stacy brought in earlier was really getting more time to work with students directly, getting some of those insights into what they're using, especially when you're using those AI specific tools for education. They're going to have a lot of those guardrails built on into their context aware for what you're working with. And a lot of them are becoming even better at setting up within your particular place, especially by your administrators, which is a great segue into like our next thought of going from teachers to students. I'm actually going to toss it over back to Amy. We're going to talk about AI for administrators.
Hey, thanks, Brian. And what a great segue. So, Elizabeth and I have kind of taken this and focused more on AI for admin and how we've seen that AI kind of lend a hand to the administrators that we work with in our specific buildings. And so we've kind of narrowed this down to 3 different topics as far as streamlining planning, improving communication, and then assisting in that data-informed decisions that they need to make, especially with their teams. So with that streamlining planning, I know that we've specifically seen AI come in and lend a hand with some of those complex administrative tasks, which kind of enables them to be more efficient, more organized, and then frees up time for their educators, which is their core responsibility. And so I've seen how AI can take on many of the time-consuming tasks involved in school and district planning. Everything from drafting schedules and agendas to generating action plans and even organizing some of the initiatives that the buildings are taking on. And what I've heard from my administrators is that by automating some of this busy work, they're then able to spend more time on the big picture decisions that really matter as an administrator. And I know, Elizabeth, you've seen some specific examples of this as well.
Yeah, it's definitely that automating that busy work, I think, has been one of the biggest like heavy hitters when it comes to helping my administrators with using AI in their role. One thing I always like to kind of walk through with my administrators and honestly teachers and fellow coaches, but really at the end of the day, when our brains are just absolutely full, to really take a second and plan for the next day, to do that brain dump and kind of make your to-do list for the next day. AI can help sort it. It can help, depending on how you prompt it, it could give you like approximate time periods that it would take to do some of the tasks that you have in your mind. Therefore, you can kind of look at your next day's schedule. And if you know you have a task, if you have 3 5-minute tasks, maybe you'd rather do that to check 3 things off of your list as an administrator. And then you have something that may take you a half hour, 45 minutes, or even longer. You can kind of like prioritize some of that stuff and just really organize yourself with your time management to get some of those tasks complete. I've also worked with my administrative staff to plan some of their school improvement days, team planning times, and really just try to find different ways that the puzzle fits together, because sometimes that can be one of the most difficult things. We know we have all of these moving pieces, but it's really hard to make it all work. And AI can help with that. Also, I personally utilize GEMS to reference my Google Calendar. Therefore, if I have a bunch of calendar events that are going into my calendar, it can read my calendar and kind of adjust as needed with that.
Yeah, all of that is so handy, and I see that across my buildings as well. And with those calendars and those meetings that you have, it also helps with improving some communication. So a big part that administrators and teachers alike have is communicating frequently. And so with AI, I've seen it foster some better relationships between administrators, teachers, and even into families, because it helps those emails or those newsletters come together more efficiently and a little bit more accurately, because, and this is something that I say to students often, and maybe need to be saying to teachers more often as well, and administrators, is we can't always get our emotion out in what we're saying. And so when we run those emails through AI, even if it's just Grammarly or it's just polishing it up with the Gemini that's built into the email, we can read what we wrote back to ourselves and say, am I getting my message across in a respectful and kind way? Because sometimes it's not supposed to come off as rude or quick or anything like that. It's just, we're short on time. So anytime that I can lend a hand with showing administrators how AI can help them communicate a little bit more effectively, and in creating those and drafting those clear, consistent messages, I try to do so. And I know that it can also help tailor some communication for different audiences, like translating languages and helping ensure messages are sent timely and accurately. And so I think that that's a great tool to use AI for. And then our last one is data-informed decisions. And I'm going to throw that back to Elizabeth because I know she has some great examples on this one.
Thank you. I think just to kind of piggyback on the last one, that consistency piece, like that's the biggest thing that I kept hearing from you, Amy. That consistency piece, being consistent with your communication with a neutral tone. I think that's the biggest piece. But yes, we could go on and on. So I will go ahead and skip down to data-informed decisions. So basically, administrators utilizing AI analytics to assist them in making informed decisions. Sometimes when we are looking at data, it can become incredibly overwhelming. So I like to sit with my administrators and have different tools like Notebook LM is a tool that I have used that has been able to kind of generalize and summarize data, and improve the way that we look at the data to support strategic planning and evaluation as moving forward. So I think that is one of a huge help with administrators and honestly teachers as well. I know when I was in the classroom and I was sat down to look at data for, a certain period of time, if I had like release time with my team, it became a lot. It became very overwhelming. And I know it can be like that for some administrators as well. And so I like to introduce tools like Notebook LM where they can summarize data, and we can take the names away. We can take the classes away, but really kind of dig into the data and understand truly what it means. I think that is a great partner with administrators, whether your curriculum or other administrators, but really just help you analyze the data and quickly translate it into some insights that are just a little bit easier to digest, a little bit easier to understand.
Or even visuals.
For sure.
I will never claim to be an expert at Google Sheets or Excel. And so if I can take, and like Elizabeth said, get rid of the student names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and have yourself a key on the other side, plug that into Gemini so that it can create those graphs for you so that you can easily visualize the data that you're looking at. I think that's a huge time saver, especially when it comes to these big assessments and just before a data team meeting.
Definitely. I would agree with that. And with that, we will go ahead and toss it back over to Brian to talk about coaching support for AI.
Absolutely. I mean, one of our job is our coaches. We all coach different parts of the state. And that's an important question because here I actually had a question earlier, got put up on the screen was, what if someone's realized that someone's been AI generated? That comes from a lot of confidence and guidance. And using the tools. We all use the tools, quite reticently and have been since the onset in 2022 when ChatGPT hit the world. So that entry points of confidence for especially students and educators are important to be both coached and know that there's like different ways that different people are using it. Often, PD only happens a few times a year and teachers only get so much time to observe somebody else. And so work with a coach allows for that to be a little bit safer of the entry, using specific EDU tools with guardrails, since most people are familiar with just their personal ChatGPT accounts. And so making sure that they're understanding that yes, this is something that is safe to use, but also knowing that there are certain things that you want to avoid for both privacy reasons and safety reasons. And so, but that personalized coaching is where it's like, yes, absolutely. It can provide guidance on how might you use this or what's something else that can it be used for. Because there's, as Stacy said earlier, a lot of those opportunities are endless and really up to the creativity of the educator, not just the creativity from the AI tool itself. So providing that ways to enable to be like, hey, what about you think about it this way? I was like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about, vibe coding a brand new app for myself before. I was like, no, I'm just going to go right to a worksheet. And I was like, okay, it's all depending on what you'd like to have for yourself. And then that third thought is making sure that there's somebody who's a leader, providing some of that kind of boots on the ground type of work with teachers so that they're not only embracing tools that they like, but also using tools that are going to be district approved at the same time, so that they're adhering to those acceptable use guidelines that you like to have. So a coach can bring all of those particular supports to a school district, bridging some of those gaps of communication, but also confidence in use of those tools within the classroom and for their general uses within their own offices. So super helpful having a coach within your building to work with each and every kind of teacher because we don't get as much PD as we'd like to. And so that's where it's nice for a lot of us ed tech coaches to work with one another. So I am going to toss it over to Amy, who's going to talk about how we all collaborate across the state.
Thanks, Brian. So if you're an ed tech leader in your building, I just want to take a moment to personally invite you to our LTC Ed Tech Coaches networking meetings. These meetings, they happen once a month, and I try my best to vary the times that they occur and the day of the week that we are hosting these on to hopefully accommodate some different schedules. During these meetings, you will most certainly hear about everything we discussed today, as AI is a regular topic on our networking calls. To join these monthly meetings, all you have to do is either scan the QR code right now with your phone, or if you would like, you can also type in our Coaches Network website, which is ltc.site/Coaches Network. And then you'll navigate to the register for the next meeting tab, and you'll just fill out the information. It's totally free, 1 hour. You get the PD credit for it. And another way to find these meetings is you can also find them under our scheduled meetings in the event calendar found on the LTC main website. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Amy could have easily added is that it is a awesome snapshot of EdTech usage throughout the state. I mean, we get people all over the state of Illinois, but outside of Illinois, we have had people, we have had international people on some of our calls. We have had all kinds of people from different places and different experiences. And I think that's what makes our networking call so awesome, that we just have so many different perspectives. You don't have to be a coach to join our EdTech Coaches Network. It's not just for coaches. We have administrators in there, teachers, those techie teachers. I think all of us on this call right now were probably once that techie teacher in the district. And so
I just told a teacher about it today. She was like, how do I learn more about these tools? I can't attend enough PD. I'm taking a master's course right now. I really want to learn more. And I was like, hey, I know a place.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I want to welcome all of you.
And if you can't stay the whole time, that's totally fine too. Come for what you can, and that is perfectly fine. But if you're interested, definitely take a look at that website, because Amy has done a fabulous job of curating all the resources and links, and she tries to clean it up every week and try to load everything in there. So you will see a pretty deep archive of information, not just from our LTC coaches, but from educators from near and far, not just Illinois, from all over the place. So so definitely check it out, or pass it along to someone in your district that would like to join us, because we would love to continue to grow. All right. So then I guess that brings us to my slide. And I'm just going to kind of go through what it looks like to have a coach in your district. We as LTC coaches are contracted to school districts, and we kind of divide our time depending on how big the contract is. As you can see, it's a shared service model. So the coach is an LTC employee. That means LTC takes care of all of the employment side of things. Our goal is for each coach to have 2 to 5 districts, but that also depends on the needs in that area. So we have a couple of coaches that are just in one district because they have large contracts, sorry. And so it's a cost sharing model, which usually benefits the district, because then they are not responsible for paying an entire salary of a coach, but they get to share it with others in that area. If you're in an area where you are bringing a new coach into our LTC team, administrators and other district leaders for that district will also be part of the hiring process. And that's always really nice too, because at the LTC, we like to make sure that it's a good fit for everyone, not just our LTC team, but also the school districts, and that we have similar visions as well. So depending on how big the contract is, some districts, like for instance, my districts, I have one district I see about once a week, 3 to 4 times a month, it kind of depends. And then I have 2 other districts that I am there 2-ish days every week. And then one very small contract that I'm there kind of throughout the year is more of a PD model. But there's a lot of ways that again, that puzzle can kind of go together. We as coaches also do a lot of support for our school leaders. As you heard when Amy and I were discussing that support for leadership and administrators, I have sat at a lot of leadership meetings and really tried to enhance what they're doing with what we already, with what we do, and try to help them and support them along that way as well. So it's not just for teachers, but it's that job embedded technology coaching. Brian was really talking about that a few minutes ago, that the teachers can receive really personalized support. So they're not just attending a PD and saying, oh, I could maybe make that work for me, but it really comes back to having that one-on-one person that is really focusing on the exact needs of that teacher. So that is what it would look like to have a coach in your district. As I said before, it's a shared service model. So the goal is to have our coaches across multiple districts. It makes high quality coaching more affordable and scalable with a shared cost model. So each participating district receives however many days that they would like. So ultimately, our goal is just to support all educators as you guys are navigating and evolving across the landscape of educational technology and AI specifically. So our program creates a sustainable collaborative pathway to grow and to support your teachers in growing as well. So that is what we have for you today. So I will go ahead and toss it back to Linda. Did we have any questions?
Hi. I think that all the questions are answered in the chat. But if anyone has any last minute questions, please feel free to pop those in here just because we'll be hanging around for a few more minutes. But while we're waiting for questions to roll into the chat, I just wanted to first extend a huge thank you to all of the LTC coaches for being here today. You guys are doing awesome work. It's always great to have you on the webinars to just talk about what you're seeing in the schools, obviously tap into your knowledge, working with teachers and just your own personal expertise. So it's always lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Linda, for having us.
Of course. Thank you, coaches. It's like I said, it's always wonderful. Well, everyone, I hope that you have a wonderful night wherever you're joining us in the state or beyond, and we will hopefully see you on a future webinar. Have a good one.